Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir, mes amis. Should we all make a crying face for Tom Wilson?
Yeah.
It didn't work, Tom. I'm sorry.
We cry.
My friends, that was a good old-fashioned, absolute ass-kicking by the Montreal Canadiens. We've been talking about this team, what it looks like if they put together a 60-minute effort for 3 seasons, 4 seasons. That was it. They crushed the Washington Capitals. And frankly, the score was closer than that game. Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it was 6-3.
It was fantastic. So welcome to Game Over Montreal tonight. We have a special episode for you. If you haven't checked it out, last night, Kay and I joined Laura and Ian for a special episode of Locked On Canadiens, and I highly suggest that you go check that out on their YouTube page. There's a post about it on the YouTube page for Game Over Montreal. Actually, if you go to our community side, I posted the video there. You can also find a link in the description of this video, or if you're listening on the podcast, go check out Locked On Canadiens. You can find them on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. So welcome to the show, Laura Saba, Ian Boisvert, Kay Imam, Andrew Berkshire, and our lovely friends in the chat, which I would love to go through quickly if we can at some point, but there's so much going on right now. People are so pumped that it's actually kind of hard to follow and pay attention to all of our friends here on the chat and make sure that we're talking about something that's entertaining for the folks here watching. So I'll do my best to check in on the chat today, but it's a lot with 4 people in. So if you have questions, especially if they're off topic, save it to our 4th period, our overtime period where we take a Q&A. And if you have commentary on what we're talking about, blast it in there. We'll try to make sure that we bring you into the show as much as we can. But folks, this is a new series now. The Montreal Canadiens, after 3 games, have earned their spot. I think that we can all agree that the first game was not great. Second game showed progress until the second period, and then third period much better. This one was a whole other ball game. And I'm going to throw it over to Kay, and then we'll go through everybody. How are we feeling about Jake Evans mentoring Ivan Demidov right now? Because we love Jake Evans. In this house, we love Jake Evans, who only scores bangers. Hey, how you feeling?
I am feeling so many emotions. My voice is shaking because I know that it's one game, but man, what a game. That line is working, and I wasn't imagining that when we first started with Demidov in the lineup. I was like, oh, surely, it's not going to be Jake Evans who's going to be his ideal center. And turns out it is. And I'm so, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Ah.
How about you, Laura?
I don't know if I want to say I feel vindicated because I could not have predicted this. I really could not have. I did want to see this from the Canadiens. I wanted to see what would happen if they were able to put together an effort. And I did have hope that they would win this third game. And it was starting to really grind my gears, people talking about caps and 4, because at the end of the day, the Canadiens don't just need to learn how to lose games. They also need to learn how to win games in the playoffs. And this is going to be really valuable. There are people pointing out how Cole Caulfield was able to kind of work around his size because he has that experience in that Stanley Cup run, right? So, there's just little things that this is going to be so valuable for. But I did not expect this much of an ass kicking, I have to say. I was optimistic, I was hopeful. I did not in any way expect this much of an ass kicking.
Yeah, I especially thought after they allowed the first goal, I was like, ooh, it's shaky territory. I knew if they scored the first one, I figured this was going to be a blowout because the energy in the building is just so crazy. But Ian, watching them rally after allowing that pretty fluky first goal against and dominating the game up to that point and not taking the foot off the gas, how are you feeling as somebody who's been tracking this rebuild from the start and watching them lay the foundations? to see them shake off those nerves that they had in the first 2 games when things don't go their way, the things that we've seen over the last couple of seasons, and find that like third period energy the whole way through.
That's what's most exciting for me is the fact that the guys who are leading them through this, we're going to see lead them through this for the next decade, right? It's Caulfield, it's Suzuki, it's Slavkovsky, and they're getting some help now from guys like Newhook, guys like Carrier, who, I mean, that was just a beautiful, kind of seeing eye puck that found its way into the net. But on my couch, I was just screaming the entire time. If you don't hit Logan Thompson in the chest, you might beat him. Like he was very good early on, but every puck was into the crest of his jersey. And of course, the first one they score on is a wrist shot through traffic that goes just under the bar blocker side. I think the thing about Thompson, and now it will be Lindgren most likely, is he's a reverse goalie. They're both reverse goalies. They catch with their right hand. And I don't think that the Canadians really game plan for that, nor do they practice with that. They're not, I don't think they have a goalie in practice who can do what they do. But generally speaking,
Which is
like
hilarious, by the way.
yeah, it's really funny. Like they should just have some guy just show up who just catches with his right, just so they can see what that's like. But I mean, like I think the thing I wanted the most out of this was the first 10 minutes of this game, which was just the moment, right? Like that, we know the playoffs they're not ever just the goal in Montreal, right? Like that's not what this franchise, this city is about. But that was earned, right? That moment at the Bell Center in Game 3 was earned. It was earned by all the guys on the ice, and quite frankly, it was earned by everybody who watches shows like this, who sat through the tank years and sat through, watching
Right?
Michael Pezzetta score in the shootout against Buffalo. Like that,
That was
this
amazing,
is
though.
this you earned this just as much as they did, in my eyes, anyway.
I love that, because there is something about like what makes sports special is that collective experience, right? And we've talked
Yeah.
about it a lot this season, especially. Kay and I have gotten emotional watching this team over the course of the season, and I'm sure you guys have too on Locked On Canadians, because it's a different thing being there from the beginning of a rebuild, right? Because it's not just a team that you love putting things together and maybe doing something special. It's you're watching kids grow together. The relationship between Suzuki and Caulfield is so special. I remember a couple weeks before the end of the season, somebody reposted, it might have been the Habs Reddit, I don't recall, but it was like a video of once when Cole Caulfield was drafted, I believe, and he met Nick Suzuki backstage, and it was just this awkward first, like a little meet cute interaction between these two boys who were like, boys aren't like girls, they don't like connect right away because we're like kind of socially isolated by the way that boys are socialized. And now they're like the absolute bestest of friends, right? The power of friendship driving this team. And to see that put together, and I think maybe part of this is also because I'm older, right? And I'm a parent now, but watching those kids grow together and watching things be put together in an impressive way. And I think also finding an allegory for myself to analyze hockey through in like this trying to learn a sport from the ground up over the last 2.5 years myself, and understanding, the difference between effort and engagement level, like your brain not being engaged, and understanding like learning something to improve might make you worse for a short period. One of the things that really stands out to me throughout this rebuild is Yuri Slavkovsky. His first couple of years in the league, mainstream media guys have been harping on his one hand pokes with the stick, right? He always has his hand on only one hand on the stick. And in the first couple of years of watching him, it was not great. It was a lot of lost battles, a lot of reaching when he should be skating. Now, however, when I watch Slavkovsky do that, oftentimes he's out muscling guys with one hand who are holding their sticks with two hands. And sometimes he's pushing the puck through two checkers at once with one hand, where he can then not break stride, go around them, and move out of the zone. And it's like accepting all those failures in building the repetition and programming and building the muscles as he ages, so that he's now a beast, and he's only going to get stronger. And it's those little things, watching them be put into place for each player, and you just see the progress and things like, it's not linear, but once something clicks into place, you can see them taking steps, and it's so damn fun. It's so damn fun.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I actually just saw Romelli in the chat say the average age of our power play tonight was 22 years old. And
Whoa.
this power play has been some of the best we've seen, I think, in a while. I don't think it's a coincidence that Ivan Demidov is on there. But I think it's just like the rest of this game, it was so many of the young guys stepping up. I know Slav only had one goal, but genuinely, I think it was like a really, really good game for him. I think that's something we're gonna have to learn, but that's something we're gonna have to get used to. Just as a side note, of Slav having really great games and coming out with maybe one goal for it or something like that.
Or 1
Or even
point.
no points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or even no
Yeah.
points because he doesn't like that's not the kind of work that he we're gonna have to stop measuring him by points. He's gonna have to stop measuring himself by points, which is hard to say, hard to do. But I think when things start clicking and it's regularly winning and they are, knock on wood, a powerhouse, he'll feel a lot better about that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he really led tonight. Like that was the thing that I noticed, right? Usually he is the one being led. Usually he's the one that's more of a toddler, right? Like a gigantic
Mhm.
toddler. And I felt like tonight he really did lead. And I like what you said about that because honestly, they might not need him to score points if he's helping everyone else score points, right? And you know, you've got Demidov to do that, so it's fine. I really do think that we saw a different dimension to his game tonight, not one that we've never seen before, but one that he's slowly getting more comfortable like existing in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. And I like what you guys are like the line that you're drawing here for Slav because he is on that line, the guy who makes space for the other two guys. And that's not just standing in front of the net like a lot of folks who are like old head hockey guys think. It's skating through lanes, right? It's creating chaos. Yes, it's battling along the boards, but it's also the fact that Slavkovsky is one of the few players who can consistently win those battles and then get the puck back into the
Mhm.
middle. And
Yeah.
he's adding to his game a lot of the things that Caulfield and Suzuki do in terms of forechecking and intercepting passing lanes. Like we talked before on this show, and I think we've mentioned on Locked On Canadiens as well, that Suzuki and Caulfield are kind of like two sharks without the puck when they're forechecking. They just skate around dangerously and jump on loose pucks or opportunities to get loose pucks. And I see that coming from Slav now. And when Hudson's out there as well, you can't get the puck away from these guys. Like they
No.
create such long offensive possessions, and it may not pay off as often right now as it will 2 years from now. Because as much as we're seeing improvement from Slavkovsky right now, like I don't know what that guy's going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know,
It's wrong.
you mentioned Hudson, so I want to mention the Hudson play. The
God.
What I thought was
Which
really
one?
interesting in this one is
Oh.
Yeah,
that the
exactly. Which
Canadiens
one?
scored 2 goals in the within 2 minutes of the end of a period. The second one was with
Yep.
8 seconds left in
Yes.
the second period, but that pass, I don't know that there is a Montreal Canadian in my lifetime who would have made that attempt. I don't think, I mean, maybe PK, maybe, but to just know, like, he knew that puck was getting to Cole before he got to the puck.
Yep.
And it was a lane that only Lane could see. Like it was the only
Mhm.
guy on the ice who could see that play was developing was him. And a lot of times there are players who are in that spot who will have that passing lane in front of them and still not take it. Just the stones on this kid to just chuck that across the slot, knowing full well, like, hey, there's 10 seconds left in the period. What's the worst that happens? You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
find that like that plays into it, the confidence that he can get it there. And like, you know, what was that shot 9 for Caulfield already on the night when he finally put one in? I just like if so much of the other nonsense hadn't happened in this game, that would be the moment of the game for me. That pass from Hudson to
Mhm.
Caulfield. But I think then a few moments later, we had the carnage at the Bell Center on the bench, which I know we'll get to later. But I just find it so funny that like we're gonna forget about that pass from Hudson because of all of that other stuff that happened.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
crazy thing about this game, right? Is there's going to be things on this show which we're going to go for at least an hour and we're not going to be able to mention because so many good things happened for the Canadians in this game. There's so many storylines. Now, we are going to talk specifically about Josh Anderson versus Tom Wilson because I think that was like That was WWE style storytelling. Like that was incredible. We're going to talk about that in the second segment, and we're also going to talk about the goalies and adjustments in the third period there. But to continue on this one, because I see in the chat there's like kind of arguing over who was the first star of the game, and like you could make a lot of arguments, frankly, from this one. People saying Anderson, Caulfield, 11 shots on goal. Like Lane Hudson was absolutely incredible. I feel like Caden Gooley was
Insane.
underratedly excellent tonight.
Yep.
Alex
Yes, he
Carrier was
was.
phenomenal tonight.
Fantastic.
Like,
I always want to give
Who
it to
didn't show
Carrier, especially this
he was
series, because
great.
he's taken more hits than anybody, and it does not seem to have bothered him a single bit. I don't know what it is. They need to do tape on Alex Carrier taking contact, because I don't know if it's the way he contorts his body right before he gets hit, but he just bounces out of a lot of these with the puck,
Yeah.
no problem. That to me, one of the most underrated trades of the season, and I know a lot of people know that Carrier kind of turned the season around for Montreal in a way, but like I don't think they recognize the extent to which that's true.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the way he gets hit, he often looks awkward too. Like it
Yeah.
seems like he takes hits like in the chest or in the back, or like his shoulders all weird, and then he's like, "I'm fine, it's fine." Like, are you?
Just a scratch. Just a
Yeah.
scratch. I've just
He's the
lost
Black
my
Knight.
head.
Yeah, just but a
Yeah.
scratch.
Alex Carrier, the Black Knight. That's his new nickname.
Nice.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Connor in the chat says the first star was the power of friendship, and I fear that
Always
that
and
may be
forever.
it. I think
Well,
that
that-
might be it.
That's kinder than Denny Heldon's "I Miss Saku" on I don't know if he has that on Blue Sky as
Hi,
well.
Denny.
Used to be his, yeah. Denny on Twitter says that the first star is Dylan Strome.
Oh man.
Rude.
Oh, that's
Honestly,
rough.
it's brutal. It's brutal. But somebody did mention, like, I've never seen a goalie hit as hard as Dylan Strome hit his own goalie.
That was nuts.
It was,
That was
like
crazy.
That was
he Chris Kreidered him.
insane.
Like he literally Chris Kreidered
It was
him.
worse than Kreider. Like he
It
was
was worse than
standing up.
Kreider.
Yeah, it
it
was
was-
brutal.
I'm struggling to remember a goalie player impact that heavy, and the one that
Mhm.
I'm going back to is Milan Lucic on Ryan Miller. You remember when he
Oh,
just
yeah.
ran him?
Oh yeah.
That's the worst one that I can remember in
And it-
terms
it
of like
took Miller-
flat out contact.
Yeah, it took Miller a while to come back from that. I
That was
remember.
brutal. He was out playing the puck
Further-
and he completely just whipped around, lost everything. Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, it was gross.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
think Thompson got hit in a way more awkward way this time
Yeah.
than Miller did. Like that knee, that's the ACL's gone.
Yeah.
Like I just like
For the
looking
record,
at
I
that,
do want to just make a disclaimer. I'm not laughing at the injury. Sorry.
no.
I just want to make sure that none of us are like happy about the injury.
No.
It's just such a weird, like that just seems like he like Tanya Hardinged him. Like it was genuinely like a moment of like, did someone pay you to do this? Like it was that
It
bad.
really
I think
did
that's what
look
we're
like that.
saying. I think that's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
like I feel like you couldn't have hit him that hard if you were trying on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that was even the like was it who just said that it was like he forgot where he was for a second?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's honestly I don't want Thompson to be hurt, right? Like
No.
I was and he was also like it looked like he took a couple of hits to the noggin, right? So he looked
That
kind
was
of
rough,
a little
yeah.
bit So I was a little bit worried about that to begin with, and then with the Dylan Strome thing, like initially I thought he hit him in the head, and I was just really, really nervous about that. But like again, it goes without saying, we do not want him to be hurt. We just
No.
wanted him to be beaten in a game without getting hurt, right?
You
wanna-
That's
we
what
wanna beat
That's
him.
what we wanted. We wanted to beat
Yeah.
him. Yeah, right. So and honestly, I also do feel bad for Dylan Strome. Not terrible bad, but like, it's not like it was like, Tom Wilson or whatever. If it was Tom Wilson, I would be like, live with the guilt and die with the guilt.
Oh,
Doing
God.
it for your entire life.
All right. I want to give out, because we don't want to stay too long on the first period here. We got to talk about Anderson and Wilson. But before we do, I feel like we have to give out some flowers a little bit for some players in the Canadiens. I'm just going to throw some names out there, and I'll say like a person, and we'll go to them. So I'm going to say Laura, Christian Dvorak. How you feeling?
Honestly, like we joke about it privately, but like Christian Dvorak has saved this season. And
Right?
I absolutely like I will have to stop hockey podcasting because I shout on him all year. In front of me in
Bullying works.
Buffalo. He saved the Montreal Canadiens game and I still wanted to shit on him. And now I have to accept it. He's the savior of the season. No. I think he had an incredible game, but not only that, like I feel like in the run up to them actually qualifying and in the first couple of games, like I saw a lot from Christian Dvorak that impressed me. Like he was really playing the way I wanted him to play in October and November. He's playing like a guy who wants to stay, right? I
Yeah.
wanted to see that earlier, but now that I'm seeing it, I don't hate it.
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard consistently behind the scenes that like the other players on the team really love Christian Dvorak. Like he's
He's Cole
really
Caufield
well-loved
favorite
guy.
player.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
the fact that the Canadiens have turned what looked like last year, if you would have asked me about Christian Dvorak, I would have told you like there's no way he should even be having a roster spot. Like that's how bad he'd been for the previous
He
3
was
years.
rough. Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
So the fact that the Canadiens and Christian Dvorak, I want to continue to give him credit for this because
1000%.
there's no way that you can get to this point from where he was without an unbelievable amount of effort. But the fact that they took a guy who was well liked and found a way to make him effective, and he found a way as well. Same with Josh Anderson. Same with
Yeah.
Gallagher after all these injuries. It's just like story after story of success. Yes, they're small successes, but they're building block successes for this Canadiens group. It's really damn impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, a lot of people want to talk about Marty, et cetera, et cetera. Like we're getting a lot of, especially now with the playoffs, it's very heightened. The Montreal Canadiens fans are just, you know, we're a very diverse fan base with very diverse opinions. And I feel like people are looking at Marty and saying, oh, he's not playing Arbor Jacki in that one game, or he's not putting Demidov on the power play early enough, or he's not doing this one thing. And they're forgetting Christian Dvorak literally, and I remember this, before the trade deadline, Ian and I were discussing trades, and I said, throw in Christian Dvorak into that trade, and he like literally looked right in the camera and immediately said, that's negative value, Laura. That's where we were
It's where
3 months
Yep.
before. Yeah. And Josh Anderson, right? Like the body language, he looked miserable, and all of a sudden you see him like he's one of the main characters of this series. I just think
Yeah.
that, you know, when you're looking at on ice decisions, it's the same thing with Mike Matheson. He will have like, you know, almost perfect game, but he'll make one mistake and then all we'll talk about is how terrible he was. And so I feel like it's really important to give Marty the flowers too while we're at it.
100%. 100%. And like we've been saying all season, Marty is a developing coach, just like these players are developing players. And, you know, I think the Canadiens are continuing to prove that those who say things like the NHL is not a development league, they're not very smart. Because at the end of the day, when you're at the highest level of sport, if you're not developing, if you're not growing your game, you're getting worse. That's the
It
way
will
it is. There's
outgrow you.
100%. That's why I am so passionate about Nick Suzuki. Is he is a guy that every single game seems to bring something new, and no exception tonight. Just counts on a loose puck off the top of a face-off on the power play and just backhand it in over Thompson. Like he finds a way consistently, and I know we always talk about Nick Suzuki, so it's not exactly like we're breaking new ground here. But I want to throw this to Ian and Kay, because I'm going to go through just a few stats. Going through natural stat trick here. I pulled up the Nick Suzuki head-to-head. So this is Nick Suzuki on the ice against other Washington Capitals. Now, the top matchup that he's been put out against is the Dubois line with Jacob Chychrun and John Carlson. So through 3 games, the Capitals have really pushed to try to get him out there double matched against their top unit and top defense pair. Against that group, the Suzuki line has, let's see here, about 67% of the expected goals. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with shot attempt differential for everything so far, just because it's the biggest sample size. So against Chychrun, 71.4%. Dubois, 60%. Connor McMichael, 70%. Tom Wilson, 70%. John Carlson, 67%. And then you get down into the rest of the lineup, and I'm not even going to name them. I'm just going to give you how dominant Suzuki's been against the entire Capitals lineup. 66%, 73%, 74%, 68%, 64%, 74%, 75%, 59%. Oh, that's a low one. 78% against Ovi, 53% against Mangiapane, and then 68% and 67%. That's nuts.
He sucks.
Yeah, washed.
All
Got
right.
it from number one center.
Why couldn't we get 80? You should have been at
Kay,
80.
Ian, we talked about like this being an utter ass kicking for the Montreal Canadiens this game, but the top line has destroyed the Washington Capitals. How you feeling, Kay?
I'm feeling so, again, and I love this term that Laura and Ian say, that this playoffs should be playoff school for these guys, essentially, with them, learning how to go through that. And I don't want to say that the top line's got it figured out because they're still, like you said, constantly learning. Nick Suzuki is constantly getting better and better. But it's really nice that they came into playoff school and they seem to be like straight A students already. And that's really, really sick because again, this is a foundation that we're trying to set. And when your foundation is this strong, I'm talking like Marty in terms of like metaphors and stuff, but like this is a very, very good base to build on. And I'm just so happy because I feel like people are finally seeing it. I feel like the playoff run is making people finally watch Habs games, which I get it. Nobody wanted to do that for a while. But now they're seeing it and they're getting to see this amazing plays Nick Suzuki makes, how smart he is, the work that Slap does that doesn't show up on the score sheet. Cole just being like, again, he's very much I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but he is not letting his size get in the way.
No.
Especially in the last two games, I would say even the first one, but especially in the last two, he will go for it. He will throw hits. If he's thrown down, he gets back up. That Ovechkin hit was a lot, but hey, we
Yeah.
all have our bad moments. But it's so great to see people see it, because we already knew this.
I thought you were
Yeah,
going to say we all get hit by Ovechkin, and I was like, I haven't.
Yeah,
Who
no, I
doesn't
haven't
get
either.
trucked by Ovechkin
Yeah,
once in a while?
yeah, we've all
Who
gotten
among
hit by a
us?
truck, am I right?
Yeah. Look, I mean, the point on Caulfield being physical is so funny because I think you're right. And my favorite thing is, he'll be down low and the guy will take the puck away from him and he'll say, I'm just going to elbow you in the chest then. Like, I'm going to get right in on top of you and I'm going to drive my shoulder and elbow into your rib cage. And that's how I'm making you know that I'm still here. I do want to sort of push the onus on the first line being great now to the Washington Capitals because we've seen 3 games of this now, and we were tracking it on Locked On Canadiens after game 1, where the Nick Suzuki line ate the Carlson and Chikrin pairing alive. At what point do they have to adjust? Like, we talk about Marty having to adjust all the time. Spencer Carberry, like, okay, you have to adjust now because that ain't working.
But
And
how do they adjust? Like, that's
Right,
their
exactly.
top defensive pair.
There's no
Right?
good matchup that they can find, and that's like the best news possible for the Canadiens.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
This is, I think they actually, who were we talking? Might have been on the broadcast. They were saying that the line has been seen as like much better, like one of the better lines in the NHL over the last little stretch. But the fact that they're doing this in the playoffs, and I don't think Washington is like a full-on competitor. I think they're a good team that had some good fortune this year, but they're not a bad team, and they have a lot of depth and they can attack you in a lot of different ways. The fact that that line, which is 2 more undersized guys and 1 big guy who sometimes lacks like refinement in his like skill set, at this stage looks basically unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's scary. Considering they don't even have a Demidov line ready yet. Like the Evans line looks good, but like eventually Demidov is going to be enough to build a whole second line around, or even that might even be the first line. Like the Slav line might be the second line at some point.
Can you
like,
imagine?
Oh my gosh.
This
team's
sicko
going
behavior.
It's really, really exciting. I just want to mention, I know we're going to get to goalies a little bit later, but my friend sent in the group chat a picture of Sam Montembeault hugging Dobish as he
Yeah, it
gets
was
off
cool.
the ice, and now I want to cry.
Oh.
I'm so emotional about
Yeah.
this team. Every time I think of
I
Marty,
love these boys.
He loves these boys. Like, every time I think of Marty and like how much he loves his team, like I just want to cry.
You know what makes
It-
me love them even more? This is a bit of a side note, but when Kent Hughes in his presser was like, I don't want to say they're a family because it feels very like, it almost feels more scummy when it's coming from like
Yeah, it's
management being
corporate.
like, oh, they're a family. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very corporate speak.
That's a red
like-
flag, by the way.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. When an employer says that, or like you're in an interview, like walk away.
Run.
But yeah, run, don't walk. But like, for him to, like, even reluctantly be like, "Yeah, I don't wanna say their family, but, like, try not to say family challenge, failed," you know? Like,
Yeah, level
it's not
impossible.
level impossible.
Okay, I just want to run through the chat really quickly because some other people had some flowers they wanted to give out. Ramelli, and I think there was somebody else too, wanted to give some flowers to Savard, who played just 11 minutes tonight, but was a contributor. He had several really nice plays, especially defensively. He did that lay down and smack the puck away. Matheson did one too, I think, on the PK that worked out
Yep.
really, really well. I don't love that move overall, but man, they are good at it. And Rick Springhetti, who's in the chat, good buddy, awesome contributor that everyone should follow because he's got a good head on his shoulders and also he's fun. Says that he would give some love to Stefan Robida. Crazy how many
Oh.
young defensemen have had their start in the last 3 years. It's incredible to me. He's an unsung hero of the coaching staff. And you know what? I think that's actually fair. There's been
That's very
some
true.
bumps in the road on defense. I feel like they haven't been as good at managing the D as they have been at managing the forwards. But
Mhm.
with what they're working with, I don't think anybody expected them to be able to put together a game like this.
We were firing Robida back in November.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
were because the hybrid system's not working. You have to make it easier. And remember, Marty came out and said basically, if you can't play this system, you probably shouldn't be in the NHL. And honestly, I think the players took that as a challenge. Like they took that as, well, we're
Mhm.
NHLers,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they
I'm in the
simplified it.
NHL.
Yeah, they simplified it a little bit for them, but they still play that same hybrid system. And again, like I've said this about Lane Hudson on our show before too, that this is the worst version of Lane Hudson we'll ever get. Like you can say that for a lot of these guys, right? Like Caden Gooley, we're like not at the worst version because he was younger and more inexperienced in the past, but like he's only getting better. Eventually, they're going to introduce David Reinbacher to this mix.
Yep.
Like there's a lot to be looking for in this on the back end, and the way that they're playing right now is encouraging that they'll be able to take that step, moving into the years in the future, and maybe we're not, just hanging on by the skin of our teeth in a lot of these games. Like they are taking
Yeah.
it to them for most of them, like we saw in Game 3.
Yeah.
It's the future is so tantalizing right now. I feel like every Canadiens fan has a smile that they just can't wipe off their face because obviously there's the nerves from the first two games. Is it going to be a sweep? Are they just going to have these like moral victories but no actual victories? But tonight they showed they can't just hang. They belong here. Even with the team as flawed as it is, they belong here in the playoffs. And that's pretty damn cool. All right, we're going to talk about hatred and violence because this game was insane. And we're all going to cry a little bit for Tom Wilson because we're going to talk about Josh Anderson being an absolute dog in this game and Tom Wilson on the other side of the break. But first, you got to hear from our partner, Inchu Bijou, which you should check out, a hidden gem here in Montreal. We are so excited to tell you about our new partner here at Game Over Montreal, a delightfully witchy goth and glam jewelry store making handcrafted art that varies from subtle silver to gold pieces to glamorous bespoke. Inchu Bijou is more than just a company. They've built a community through advocacy and a welcoming attitude that has made them an institution here in Montreal. Located in the historic Chateau Saint-Ambroise, Inchu Bijou also runs seasonal themed markets called Maleficarum Market, or Marché Maleficarum en français, where artisans from all over get together and showcase and sell their wares. Drop by 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise, Suite 278, and say hi to Astrid and the Wicked team, or head to inchubijou.com and enhance your style. The next Maleficarum Market will be on the weekend of February 8th and 9th. We'll see you there. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I am Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Imam, Laura Saba, and Ian Boisvert from Locked On Canadiens. This is the Game Over Network where we are live post-game for all Canadian teams, and the Montreal Canadiens have taught the Washington Capitals and, frankly, Tom Wilson a lesson, and that is they're not going to back down. When we were on Locked On Canadiens yesterday, and you can watch that show whenever you'd like, it's available on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. I believe it was Kay who predicted that this game would be a Uri Slavkovsky legacy game, and he was great.
It was Ian,
But
just to give him
holy
credit.
hell, was it a Josh Anderson legacy game?
Yeah.
Who
Wild.
he was great in game 2, I thought. And even in game
Oh, yeah.
1, like he was very good. But this was a whole new level of Josh Anderson. And like there are bad effects from playing the way that he did. Like it opens up a lot of defensive opportunity or offensive opportunity for the Capitals just by how much he's like pushing for hits. But he was a menace, and I don't care that he was outshot and outchanced while he was on the ice tonight because he was a beast, and I loved every goddamn minute.
He brought
I'll
intangibles.
let everybody. He did. I'll let everybody else go after this, but let me just open the segment by saying, to quote a scholar, "What a man! What a man! What a man! What a mighty good man!" And I'll just starting with that. To quote a scholar, that was such
incredible.
It was. Thank you. But it was incredible by Josh Anderson. It truly just felt like that first goal was the first goal against was definitely because he chased a hit. But frankly, I do not care because they, at the end of the day, they won. If they hadn't, I'd be mad, but they did. So I'm fine with it. Especially because it built and he built and he built, and it's not. I mean, at the end, it did spill over, but then he came back, and when he came back, he was calm, and Tom Wilson was still filling his diaper, which, by the way, it wasn't just Josh Anderson making Tom Wilson fill his diaper. It was like question mark Yvonne Demidov. So it's just man, it was just such a good game from Josh Anderson. This is playoffs Josh Anderson. You know, this is dad strength multiplied by playoffs Josh Anderson. So
We love Josh Anderson in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, years ago there were rumors that the Canadiens had an offer out there for him for a first round pick. And I think this is the game. These are the moments where the Canadiens were thinking they'd get to and want him around for them. Right? Because there was a lot of talk about Arbor Xhekaj and getting him into the lineup for this game to deal with this type of shenaniganery, right? But Arbor Xhekaj also, don't get me wrong, he found a way to get a penalty in that same fracas somehow because he just always does. But
did he throw his glove?
That's what Wilson said. And what I find so funny about the gifable moment of him crying about the Canadiens complaining to the refs is right before that, the camera is on Wilson and he's incredulously looking at the ref going, "Did you see that?" It's just immediate, the mental gymnastics he has to do to believe that he is the toughest alpha on the ice is just it's laughable at this point. He's had a pretty bad series for what it's worth. And
yeah.
You're getting ragdolled by Josh Anderson, who a year ago we wanted to run out of town. Also, I will say this, I didn't realize that pushing the linesman was allowed. I didn't know you were allowed to throw a linesman into the bench. I thought that was abusive official, no? Imagine it's the other way. Imagine if that's Arbor Xhekaj pushing there. He is in handcuffs leaving the arena. We're not having the same conversation.
Yeah. Jail for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Although I will the idea of pulling the fake crying thing and acting like a tough guy after you knock an opposing player into your own bench who's wildly outnumbered. There were 2 Canadians or 3 Canadians and 14 Capitals around that bench.
Wow.
And then you've got the ref in the middle and you try to tackle Anderson and you still kind of end up on the bottom and getting fed in your own bench. And then you try to play the tough guy act it's giving messy.
Someone also pointed this out on Twitter.
Go ahead, Kay. I'll let you start.
No, I was just gonna say it's because it's amazing to pull that kind of move when you have been when you've been penalized for embellishment in this series. I'll just also throw that out there.
No kidding. I wanted to add that somebody who I think is vindicated in all of this Tom Wilson nonsense is Jeff Gorton, who lost his job in New York for essentially not wanting to toe the company line of filling their diaper about this player. And instead, the players on the ice are vindicating Jeff Gorton right now by allowing Tom Wilson to continue to fill his diaper and also just keep giving it to that guy. After when people were like, "Oh, the Canadiens are getting run out of the building. They got to handle this Tom Wilson guy." He had 1 hit in the first game. Like that was not a factor. Like that was totally fabricated. Lars Eller had 5. Like what are we talking about?
Lars Eller's been way better than Tom Wilson.
He's been
in this
so
series.
good.
He's been
Lars
so
Eller,
good.
we are Lars Eller truthers, always have been, always will be. Earlier
Yes.
this season, I was like, Montreal should go get him again, and then he went back to Washington. Yeah, I just think
Washington robbed us of him.
yeah, I just think that this is like the team is handling this a lot better than I kind of thought they would, and like everyone got on them after Game 1 about it, but Game 1 wasn't even really that bad. Like
It was
they
just
went
10
to
minutes.
overtime.
It
Yeah,
was just 10
it's fine.
minutes.
The hits in this game,
It
by
was
the
a
way,
start.
45-26 for Montreal. I just thought I should throw that out there.
How did they,
And they won,
double
and
them
they
up
had the
on
puck.
hits when they had the puck the whole time?
Yeah, exactly. It's astounding. I mean, I'm sure
They
the
have-
Bell Center counting the hits made it a little bit. They probably juiced those numbers a
Having
little
the
bit.
slamming button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they goosed this for sure. But that kind of matches the eye test. They were pounding the body, as Laviolette once said.
Yeah, as Olivier Bouchard used to say when we were at EOTP, big bodies banging down low. That's like the hockey man's favorite thing. Big bodies banging down low. Yeah, the Canadiens absolutely took it to them tonight, and I feel like Josh Anderson really led the fray, led them
Yes.
into the fray. He
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't think that they needed to be led today. Like every shift from the start, like the first drop of the puck, the Canadiens were on it tonight. But Anderson was like a heat-seeking missile out there. I don't know how many hits he laid where there was no puck anywhere close, but he was like, if they can do it, I'm gonna do it. And he's like, I'm just gonna charge halfway down the ice. The hit,
That's
I
what we
forget who
said.
he got. It was one of the Capitals defensemen who was trying to like make a play up the boards and like on the half wall there, and Anderson caught him not from behind, from the side, but he kind of like crunched through and like pushed his head into the boards on the same time. And I in the regular season, I feel like he would have got called for it.
For sure.
I feel like it probably would have been an interference call.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
probably should have been a call anyway. But I stood up and like
It's fine.
fist pumped. I was like, yeah! Like, you know what Loki in the movie Thor Ragnarok, when Thor gets tossed by Hulk and he's like, yeah, that's how it feels. Like, that's how Anderson did that.
It was all done right after that or not right after, but it was all after that time that Lane Hudson was hit right in the numbers in front of the refs. I don't remember who it was, but you are on my list. I will go back, watch it, figure out who it was, and then you will be on my list. But
I'm already in their
ever-
walls. It doesn't matter.
exactly. They're gonna wake up in the middle of the night with me standing over them. But I think the Habs learned playoff school includes, hey, you can just do stuff. Nobody's gonna stop you.
You can cheat.
You can cheat. How much like cheating is part of the game at that point? I'm not. Listen, as long as you aren't doing anything like really dirty, go for it. Guess what? They did something really dirty, which is making Brendan Gallagher go and have dental work for half a day. Like Cole Caulfield still had that little bruise on his chin. I was like, oh. So like if they can do that, we can do that too. And I'm glad that they just did it. The Bell Center being on their side probably helped. Like the refs are people. They're not.
I think they
not
wanted to get
walking
out
of the
alive.
Bell Center. Yeah, they didn't want to walk out with an escort. Like and Arbor Jacki wasn't going to be their bodyguard, so they weren't going to be safe.
Yeah,
I
Natalie
wanna-
Petty in the chat
Yeah.
mentioned that Arbor complained after the game, not complained, but said to the media that the refs didn't allow him to go in and help Anderson when all the Capitals were around him. They were like holding him back.
This
So,
is
yeah.
I've pointed this out every time something happens with Arbor Jacki. There could be 3 other instigators in a fight, and if Arbor Jacki is nearby, the referees have there's 2 of them grabbing him. Like it's astounding to watch this happen. Like there's 2 guys beating the crap out of each other, and they're giving Arbor Jacki an escort to the penalty box, and he's like, "What? Why are you doing this?" Like there's 2 guys pounding each other over there.
He didn't even do a
Flyers
thing.
game?
Like he did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that I thought the refs went to the intermission after the first period and realized the penalty that they called on Suzuki was complete trash, and they got fooled by the goalie. And I think they watched back the board that Lane Hudson took just before that and were like, yeah, we probably should have given him one there. So like, and I also thought it was funny, Gallagher took 2 cross checks in the mouth earlier this series, and then he draws a cross checking penalty when they hit him in the numbers. Like it's just make it make sense. None of this makes any sense, and that's why the playoffs are wild and entertaining, and the narratives are great. But the product still sucks because those guys in stripes just the game that they, you know, as Andrew likes to say, it's professional wrestling to them. Like that's why they're doing the things they do.
It is. If you look at NHL officiating through the lens of like how the WWE does officiating, it starts to like line up in a way that is uncomfortable. Like the whole game management thing, like are you like full on juicing it to make the product more entertaining or more dramatic? Like it kind of has that feel sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
not accusing the refs of fixing anything. I think that is kind of nonsense. And I understand where the conspiratorial mindset comes from. Like in this series, if you're a Canadiens fan, you probably think they've been completely jobbed because they have. But I think it has more to do with the style the Capitals play. Like teams that dare the officials to make calls will benefit from that because they won't.
Yeah.
Because you can only make so many calls until people start to whine and complain that you're slowing the game down. But we'll do 12 offside reviews in one game because
Yeah.
We
that's
won't
important.
drop the damn puck on a face-off.
Oh,
Every
God.
face-off takes 4 minutes. What are we doing? Like, you want to speed the game up? Fucking fix that. It's the worst.
I saw somebody on
Character
Blue Sky.
syndrome.
Somebody on Blue Sky tonight said that they should just get all the officials off the ice and let the players like officiate themselves. And my first thought was like Arbor Xhekai's dream.
He'd be sitting there like rubbing his hands together. I do want to get back to Josh Anderson real quick because you're talking, Kay, about like you wanted him to learn, right? And like you see him, other people are getting away with this, and now he's doing it, and he's the only one doing it. He's like, and so I do want to point out though that in the third period he didn't do that. So he's been able to pick his spots so much better, I think, because he got to a point where like, okay, they're getting away with it. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna dare, as Ian you put it up, I'm gonna dare the officials.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you're like, okay, I'm not even gonna try to mess, right? So he just kept yapping, but not even dramatically yapping at Tom Wilson, and Tom Wilson just kept like following him around the ice, but he did not let butter melt in his mouth. And so I feel like, like that's a thing where that's your experience, right? The experience coming in. He was, he's one of the people that's like lived through playoff runs. So I really, really just wanted to point that moment out. It was in the third. I don't know if there was like 5 minutes left or 7 minutes left or whatever it was. And he really like I was so proud of him.
There was one moment that I really loved late in the third where the game was out of hand. The puck went on to Charlie Lindgren, and Anderson went right into the blue paint and stood there because he knew none of you are going to touch me. And I know that because you're going to get tossed from this game. And they all just kind of watched him do it. And at that moment, I was like, Anderson has this series in the palm of his hand. Like he can just go into the paint and you guys there was no reaction. They just kind of looked at him funny. I'm like, man, that's brutal. You guys were big and tough 20 minutes ago. Where'd that go?
Why Otta?
Yeah. If I was the Capitals, I'd be very worried about their response. Cause I thought when Newhook scored to give a little breathing room, while Wilson and Anderson were still in the box, when Wilson was like bouncing up and down in the penalty box, ready to go, I was like, oh man, it's going to get crazy in these last couple minutes because they're losing. There's going to be message sending. They gave up.
Yeah.
They looked terrible. And like we talked about, it was a full 60-minute ass kicking, but like the Canadiens threw out their top power play unit on that last power play that they got. I don't think they pushed the play very much. I don't think they were trying.
Alain Vigneault, eat your heart out.
Right?
Oh,
we were talking about
Taylor was on the other bench going, I didn't think you were allowed to do that. He's on the Caps bench just being like, wait, I got yelled at for that when I did that.
We were talking about hate before we move on to like the goalies and like the series going forward. I was thinking watching this game about how there are so many players going into a playoff series that you're either like neutral on or like you don't watch a team close enough to care about. And now after just 3 games, there are so many Washington Capitals that I viscerally hate. There are comments in the chat about Beauvillier and Dubois. They're both going to hell and they're provincial traitors. Somebody saying they're going to French Canadian
their
hell.
province, yeah.
Which is hilarious. I feel like Dubois should be like the most hated because he used the Habs like twice for contract negotiations and then didn't come, and now he's like
hate that guy.
having this renaissance season against the Habs. So yeah, 101
French Canadian hell
next year. Let's
Toronto.
check in on him next year.
Yeah.
Let's check in on him next year because he does
When he
this
asks for a
every
trade?
single session. Well, ask for a trade, but also just be really good when he gets to his first place. Be really happy, have all his toys, be super happy, and then he just gets tired of it and decides that he doesn't want to be a good teammate anymore. Um, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I just don't like him. Also, his tattoos are stupid. He should try getting some that are
They are.
customized and not from the wall. Like, there's nothing wrong with the tattoos from the wall, but like, you have money. Get yours custom. Don't bring in a picture of Harry Styles and say, "I want these."
Oh god.
Man, he
That
has a
does not
He
work.
family.
makes like, what does he make? $8 million a year, and he's picking from the binder when you go into the tattoo shop.
You just
Like,
evaporated him.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm just so traitor, traitor.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
French Canadian
Also,
Hell is just playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
oh, I love it.
What's his name?
What
Benoit?
about Dowd? How are you feeling about Dowd? I feel like he's enemy number one for.
Hate that
He was
guy.
the one who need Line A, right?
Hate that guy.
Yeah.
need
Hate
Line
that
and then I
guy.
think he caught Demidov for the interference penalty last game.
That's right.
Like he's just kind of running around. I did find it funny that Duhaime took back-to-back penalties in this game. That was really
Yeah,
fun. Definitely enjoyed
He was
that.
running around trying to hurt people, and he played terrible tonight. Like he was probably the worst capital on the ice.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
Nick
that just
Dowd's
goes to
terrible.
show. Yeah. It just goes to show, like, don't be pointless about it. Like, be tough, but don't be dirty, don't cheat. And I really do hope that, like, the road for the rest of his life is paved with Legos.
The
Yeah.
one that I think we're forgetting from earlier in the game was Alexiev being all tough with the bubble on, and Savard
Yes.
absolutely giving it to him for being like, "You're hiding behind a shield, my man. Like, what? You have some pride."
Also, am I missing something? Like, didn't he just get teeth knocked out by a high stick? Like, he doesn't
Yeah,
have a broken jaw or anything. Why are you wearing a
No, I
bubble,
don't know.
man?
Don't know what's up. Don't know what's up with them. Gary Galley is
Like,
always like, "Oh, he missed that because the bubble was blocking his vision." I'm like, Gary, shut up, shut up.
as if he knows.
Sorry, I'm in the mood tonight. I'm on one.
I mean, Gary Galley last played. Like, did he even wear a helmet when he was playing? I think he's a goalie, wasn't he? Or I'm thinking Greg Millen.
No,
I
he
get
was
them
a
both
defenseman.
confused.
Yeah,
He was
He's
defenseman.
a
I know he's a
defenseman.
Boston Bruin,
yeah.
and he hates Montreal, but they put him on the Montreal broadcast because he's from Montreal. But he clearly hates them.
I get
But
the
then he
TNT
keeps trying to
broadcast
say
and
nice
state-
things about him, and they're wrong. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and they're wrong, and he just talks to himself for 2 hours. Like he doesn't interact with the person calling the game ever. He just like waits for them to stop talking, and then he's like, "I'm just gonna say a bunch of stuff that nobody else is thinking because it's not happening, and then we're gonna throw it back to you to keep doing the game." Like it's brutal. I thankfully am avoiding that. The TNT feed has been okay for this game. ESPN's been okay through most of it. At least TNT actually sent guys to the game this time. They had been doing the very shameful practice of calling
Yep.
them from their studio in Atlanta, which if you're the NHL, like you should be all over them for that. That's we pay you, we're giving you guys a lot of money to do this. Go do it the right way, please. Anyway, that's a different argument.
It is. I mean, frankly, the broadcasts across the board could raise the bar a little bit. You know, we talked about this last
Mhm.
show where Kevin Bieksa was on Sportsnet talking about
Dude.
Lane Hudson's 62 points or 62 assists or whatever. I don't know. I didn't do the research, and I was like, bro,
you
you're
have
getting
one
paid
job.
hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on the TV for like 8 minutes a night. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. Takes them longer to get ready.
I mean, seriously, it takes him longer to put on that spray tan. My God, man is so tanned for April. I know that he lives partially in California and whatever, but that's not a real tan. It's just not. All right, I do want to move on to the fact that it's a new series. If we would make any adjustments next game, I mean, probably not, right? How do you adjust from that? And also, I want to talk about the goalies because both starting goaltenders injured in this game. It changes the series completely. Let's talk about it shortly.
Yeah.
But before we do, we got a little partner video here from you from Le Saint Motel. Looking to make awesome memories with your friends? Take some promotional pictures or videos for your business? Check out Le Saint Motel in Montreal's Sud-Ouest borough. It's an amazing selfie studio located in Montreal's historic Chateau Saint-Ambroise, right next to Inchu Bijou. It boasts 12 plus unique decors for you to enjoy and make memories with. Hop into their iconic heart-shaped ball pit, or transport yourself back in time to Expo 67. Le Saint Motel can also come to you with mobile decor setups available to rent for events, including setup and takedown, or you can head to lesaintmotel.com right now for more details, or to check out their amazing decors that are always being updated. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I'm Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Imam, Laura Saba, and Ian Boisvert from Locked On Canadiens in a special crossover episode for you, the fans, as we all do the Tom Wilson cry over and over again all night because it's just too funny.
Because that's what he was doing all night.
It's
I
also
saw-
so ugly when he does it. Like, he doesn't
I
even
know.
finish
Slow-mo?
the cry to get to ugly cry.
He's knockoff
Slow-mo,
Travis
oh my
Kelsey.
god.
This is like, I feel like this is
So true.
offsides a little bit because I try not to talk about like looks and stuff, but I'm starting it from Tom Wilson's an attractive man, right? And I
Yes,
saw
yes.
there were some discussions on Blue Sky about who was more attractive between Josh Anderson and Tom Wilson.
That is not even a discussion.
Okay, we're all biased in this. However, I'm going to lay down an argument that I think is unimpeachable. Tom Wilson is attractive, but he is not good guy attractive. He's fuckboy attractive. Whereas Josh Anderson is like somebody bothers you and he beats the crap out of them attractive. Josh Anderson is like you're out having fun with your trans friend and somebody makes an anti-trans comment and he beats the shit out of them and gets arrested because he doesn't have the block in his brain to not do that. That's Josh Anderson attractive. Tom Wilson attractive is like, catcalling a girl on the street. That's my take on, and I'm not saying he would do that. That's not fair.
No,
but
there's
that's
genres.
what he is. There's genres
Genres,
of
yeah.
The
attractive.
genre,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
This is
met both
accurate?
of those.
I think it's
I would
accurate.
agree
Not
with
those
that.
guys. Those type of guys. Yeah.
We're giving away a signed photo of Josh Anderson on our show, so I always
Hell yeah.
I have had this picture next to me for weeks now, and that's just a very handsome man. I think this is after he scored against the Lightning in the Stanley Cup final. So I don't know if he could be more attractive than he was in that moment. But
Yeah.
he's doing his best. He's making it a competition.
Tonight was pretty close.
Yeah.
Like tonight was pretty
Definitely.
great.
Yeah.
All right. Logan Thompson took one of the craziest hits that I've seen a goalie take in a very long time. And then Sam Montembeault, I mean, he's been run all series long, but it seemed like he just tweaked something and had to leave the game. So now we've got Jakub Dobeš and Charlie Lindgren likely for the rest of this series. Like, we don't know about Montembeault, but the fact that he didn't come back tonight and wasn't really rushing per se kind of seemed like he knew something was up. And I don't think we see Logan Thompson again this year.
I think it would be a miracle.
It would be like Patrick Laine, right? Where you saw that hit and you're like, well, he's done for the year. And then they get a second opinion and he's back. But I can't imagine that one working out very well for Logan Thompson. So going forward here, how are y'all feeling about Dobeš versus Lindgren as compared to Montembeault versus Thompson?
Well, it's
I
two
think
Habs drafted goalies, which is very funny.
That is
Great bit.
I
Great
did
bit.
think it was funny that Dobeš got his first playoff win before Montembeault did, which is just
Oh my
entirely
God.
unfair.
So true. Oh no, that's right.
I think the drop off from Logan Thompson to Charlie Lindgren might be slightly more than the drop off from Montembeault to Dobeš. I'm not sure how we quantify that, but that feels right. It feels like it's close. It's like the same level of drop off, but I feel like, with Dobeš, like we've seen him been able to steal games. Last year in the playoffs, Charlie Lindgren got the Capitals to that spot, and then that was kind of it. It wasn't his fault. That team was entirely underpowered going into that. But I do think that there's probably a greater chance Montembeault plays again in this series. If either of them is going to come back, it's him, just seemingly because we saw him after the game standing and hugging Jakub Dobeš, so we can imagine, he's feeling
That he
good
can
enough to do
stand.
that. Yeah, standing, which,
Yeah.
Logan Thompson, it was scary watching him leave the ice. Like, he couldn't,
Yeah.
he tried to
He was
put weight on his
limping.
leg, just completely fell. Like, it wasn't,
That's
you
rough.
don't want
was
to see
very
it. It's
ugly.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's sort of a wash in the sense that, like, neither team can say, well, our starting goalie got hurt. Yeah, well, so did ours. Like, that's what's going to happen from now on. I think I've
Yeah.
seen more playoff series though in my lifetime where the Canadians lose their starter than not. Like, it happens too often.
Wait,
For
are you
various
telling
reasons.
me that like redlining Carey Price and playing him like 70 games a year didn't actually work out in the playoffs, and he
No.
ended almost every single playoffs injured.
We call that a Hellebuck, actually, except Hellebuck melts down without the injury. Sorry,
Yeah.
just caught
Yeah.
a stray. I just
Ooh,
last night was
Just got to stab one more
Fraud.
time there.
Yeah.
By the way, Price is better.
my
It's
bad.
actually kind of interesting because this whole goalie situation, obviously Jakub Dobiš was pretty solid in his little stretch there. He had to make some pretty key saves when the game was close. Can't really fault him for being scored on by Alex Ovechkin as the only goal that he allowed. I think I'm pretty confident with Dobiš just based on vibes. Like, I don't think he's a great goaltender right now, but I feel like he's the kind of guy that when he's in a battling mood, he's going to be fine. And the Canadiens are playing tight enough that it's not a big deal. However, this presents an opportunity, and my first thought was some kind of magic cap scenario and contract magic to bring in Jacob Fowler, who could go on like a rookie run to the Conn Smythe like Patrick Waugh did, like Ken Dryden did. Because, history, like George Lucas says, it rhymes, right? Things happen over and over again, but that's not going to happen. It can't happen legally, even though based on how this series has gone, the rules don't matter. So why not just do whatever the hell you want? But say things go poorly, and all of a sudden, Carey Price comes down from the rafters like Sting, because we're going with the WWE references, and miraculously comes back into the series. Now that would be a storyline.
Yeah.
like
Unfortunately, I
Steven
think his
Stamkos
knee
in the
would do
bubble.
something similar to what we saw. Unfortunately, the thing about Dobiš is he will fit right in a feisty series. My guy loves to yap. And he really pissed off. I can't remember who, but in one of the games that he played in, he like
Jordan
pissed
Greenway.
him off.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, we were
Buffalo.
at that game in Buffalo. It was awesome.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much he'll get under the skin of Cavs players since they're big crybabies.
Obviously,
think
Carey
for
Price isn't
me-
going to come back, but if I were the Canadiens, what I would do is bring him out for Game 4.
Oh,
Just like to start the game, just have
Yeah.
him out there waving to the crowd.
yeah, absolutely. So what I was gonna say is, obviously, new goalie coming in, no pressure on this kid, blah blah blah. And what I expected the Caps to throw everything they had at him as soon as he started playing. I didn't see that right away. But what I didn't see from Dobiš, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous, is I didn't see the same body language I saw when he beat, like, I don't know, all those Stanley Cup winning teams back in, January or whatever, December, January. So I didn't see that confidence from him. And again, it's his first ever playoff series. Like, you're sitting there not expecting to play until like September, right? And
Mhm.
and now all of a sudden you have to do this in front of this crowd, in a game that you really can't afford to win, even though it's not necessarily going to eliminate you. So I really did not see that, like, I did not see the asshole that we've
Mhm.
come to expect, right? So I really, like, as you said, I like watching him get under people's skin. I think he could really get under the cap skin, because the Caps have proven themselves to be giant babies.
Yeah.
Like, and if anyone is going to fall for it, it's going to be them. But I just, there was something about tonight, and again, it was like he played for what, a period in like 8 minutes. Um, I'm not ready to be confident in him until I see him next game,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is very likely.
Oh, I'm just fully being cocky. I'm just fully
1000%.
leaning in.
Let's give you a reason to be cocky, Kay, because I've got the series report open from Natural Stat Trick, which is like all 3 games put together so far. And we went through like the Nick Suzuki matchups, but looking at the overall for this series so far at 5-on-5, so like a state where the Washington Capitals should be in control as the number 1 seed. Shot attempt differential, 56.6% in favor of the Canadiens. Shots, 54% in favor of the Canadiens. Expected goals, 50.2, so like slight margin. Then you've got high danger chances, 54% in favor of Washington. So they've got like the edge in the high quality shots, but everything else is coming up Habs. And that's despite the fact that the Capitals have been able to get away with absolute murder on in terms of penalties and non-calls throughout this series. And if you go into all situations, the same thing. The Canadians are ahead in every single category except for high danger chances. And, Montembeault leaving the series hurts there a little bit because he's like really good at saving those high danger chances, but he also tends to allow a bunch of low danger ones to go through. So maybe that is a little bump for Dobesh, and he just has to battle in tight there. But overall, through 3 games where only one has been a home game for the Canadians, the Capitals are not in a good spot here. Like after 2 games, it looked like they were in a good spot. But even though they're leading the series, like I would not be confident if I were.
I don't know. I watching this game, I would be terrified
Mhm, mhm.
because,
I
and I think,
yeah.
sorry, I was just gonna say, and I think like Spencer Carberry is like a really good tactician. Toronto allowed him to walk, which I find really hilarious.
Very funny.
I think, and we talk a lot about Ovechkin and how the team rallied trying to get him that record. You talk about Logan Thompson getting the team into the number 1 seed in the conference, all of that kind of stuff. You talked about how they were like top of the comp for the league for a while, but I think that Spencer Carberry doesn't get enough credit for getting more out of this team than they actually are. And I think a lot of the times when people saw the Caps come out and just beat up Montreal for 10 minutes in that first game, I think that they thought they mistook that physicality for quality. That was just a tactic, right? Like that was
Yep.
just it was just a tactic. So what I'm very curious to see is how Spencer Carberry looks at the video from tonight, looks at all of the elements, almost all of which Montreal completely dominated, and how does he adjust? Like I'm very curious, like because I do think that he has the ability to, and I do think that he has more experience, not necessarily as a head coach than just in coaching in general, than Marty does. So like I think that's where the battle is going to be, because I don't think this Caps team is as good as even we are saying it is. Based on tonight, we know how flawed the Montreal Canadiens are. They literally don't have a second line center. They have a fourth
No.
line center playing as their second line center, right? So based on how flawed we know they are, based on how young, immature, and experienced we know they are, I want to see what Spencer Carberry can bring, because like the Caps are not all that. Like this game really showed me that the Caps are not even as good as I thought they were.
Mhm. I still, I think, and we can all acknowledge that they're a better team than the Habs because the Habs are a deeply flawed team. But I think that, listen, I'm not gonna bet on anything because I'm a coward, but I am pretty confident that I'm a coward. I'm also prone to getting into things, and I don't want to get into something that I don't want to get out of. So aside, aside from that, I think that like I feel like this team, if they make it past the first round, whoever they get next is not gonna get that much of a fight. Because first of all, like remember the first game, like just specifically the physicality. That is one of the things that the Caps do very well. And I feel like we've already seen a bit of a downturn in that unless
Yeah.
the Canadians initiate it. So for like we talk a lot about like team toughness and team physicality, and that was always my point with Jack Guy was getting Jack Guy in is not going to change the team toughness because team toughness is more than one guy, right?
Yep.
And I think this team is a lot tougher than people want to believe it is. But so that was my point with that. So I think I'm seeing some pushback from some certain guys from the Caps, but I feel like the overall physicality of the team has already started winding down. I think a little bit has to do with age, because I mean, Josh Anderson isn't young, but like our team in general is babies, and I feel like they're bouncing back. Not to simplify it, but like I genuinely feel like the age and that kind of they're one of the things that is going against them is they've been fighting so hard they've been in survival mode like this entire last like stretch because they've been fighting to get into the playoffs. They slipped out, all that stuff. So the intensity, so they are a little bit more worn out, but I think even because they are more worn out, I feel like the Caps should be able to take better advantage of that. by game 3, they should be way more physically dominant. I feel like it's a real simplification of the series to kind of condense it down to physicality, but that is one of the things that the Caps are really good at, and that's one of the things that people pointed out all the time. So I'm just kind of saying that this team, I feel like they're gonna burn out. They're gonna burn out, and especially without like Logan Thompson, um, especially versus a team that maybe has a second line center. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, neither of these teams are beating Carolina Hurricanes.
No, no.
It would be
No.
wonderful if the Canadians could pull that off. I know they did in the regular season, but
Twice.
Imagine
in
how
the playoffs.
purple. Imagine how purple Rod will get. That would be really funny.
Dude,
eliminating Rod Brindamore would be so fun.
it'd be the
Like
best.
I love Eric Tulsky. He's a friend of mine. He's a very good person and has done great things for the Carolina Hurricanes, but I really despise how that team plays. I respect
Yeah.
it, but they are so terrible to watch. So it'd be great to eliminate them, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I
Yeah.
do want to get to some questions from the chat because we've gone quite long and we don't want to go super long here because everybody needs to sleep. And Laura
And we have a
Ian-
bonus episode coming.
yeah, they have to record a show. So
Don't stop.
get your questions in for the overtime segment. I'm going to transition over to that right now. So if you, sorry, I didn't put the right overlay on. I will do that now, and then I will go back and hit transition again. All right, so if you are enjoying the show, if you're still sticking around and you really want to support us, listen, this is a new venture in the Game Over Network. We've been grinding it out for a year. It's been fun and difficult and stressful and amazing, and we have over 30 amazing creators across this country covering all 7 NHL teams. If you want to help us out, there's a link in the description of this video, or if you're listening on the podcast, there's also on our YouTube page and our website, thegameovernetwork.com, where you can find our Patreon. If you want to kick us a couple bucks there, it helps us pay folks and also pay for the expenses of running this business. I apologize for the coughing. It's, that time of year and been talking for over an hour. But yeah, that really helps us out if you want to. It's great. It is one of the few ways that we can get money that isn't highly ethically compromised. We have a Shopify store as well if you want to buy some gear, but obviously Shopify is a very evil company, so if you don't feel comfortable supporting them to support us, I totally get it. I do totally get it. I don't blame anyone. But we do have some cool merch there designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg if you want to check it out. All right, so I'm going to go through some stream chat questions here. There were some really good ones. I'm just going to have to find them quickly. Everyone loves Kay calling the team babies. They're
Sure.
loving that. Natalie and a few other people are checking in from where they are. Curtis Williams from Little Rock, Arkansas. Natalie is from Adelaide, Australia. So we've got people from all over the world here. Oh, and Trizak asked us to restart the show because she went to the game tonight. So everybody bugged Trizak about having the most amazing experience because how was
Man,
that?
what a night.
Can you tell us? Because that was incredible.
And can we get
Was
you to
nobody
game
shaking?
4?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. But Trizak has a question. Says, "Don't duck my question this time, Andrew. I guess I ducked it the other time. Would you rather have a receding hairline or a preceding hairline?" Well, I've already dealt with one of those, and you can see the results. So I'll say receding.
I'm a big hat guy. I'll go receding. I'm almost always in a hat. So
preceding would be moving down, right?
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
looking at like your bangs are just taking over your face.
I think you're looking at Brendan Gallagher.
Oh man,
just
he needs to
moving
just
forward?
get over it and cut it all off, man. He's
No,
not
you
looking
should
like
do
Doc Brown.
you should do full on comb over. Bring back the old school 50s hockey cards and no bucket, comb over,
No.
grow a
Yeah.
dirt stash. Bring it back, Gally.
Brutal.
Give it up, man. Sometimes we just gotta say, I'm not answering that. I refuse to put that on the record in case God comes back and is like, see?
Oh, you didn't
I'm
go to
not
the
saying
game, Trizak? It must have been Trinka that went to the game. Somebody I saw went to the game. They were posting about it on Blue Sky.
MFM went to the game, I think.
Oh, was it MFM?
Or
Okay.
now we're making up things that people did. Now we're just making up canon.
Okay. Sorry, Trizak.
yeah.
I thought that was you. We're just making things up. That's how much fun we had today. We're just continuing to go. Uh, people are
Also,
asking
just
if the crowd was booing Thompson or Lindgren when Thompson got injured. It was definitely Lindgren.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think so, and
100%.
I think the timing was really unfortunate. I'm very sick of fighting with Caps fans over it, because Charlie Lindgren is like a former Hab, right? And
Yeah.
you really
Mhm.
want to get into, and I think that Canadians were jeering when the goal was first allowed. I think it was after they realized how
Yeah.
badly injured he was. That's when it changed. Yes, I think it was just it was timing because this crowd, they're
I will
mean,
say,
but they're not that bad.
yeah, I will say on the US feed, there were pockets of fans still shouting Thompson as he was getting taken off the ice, but it wasn't like the entire Bell Center was just screaming. It was
Yeah.
like you could probably count 3 or 4 people saying it. Like it wasn't this idea that they all stood up and pointed and laughed at this guy as he was
Yeah.
injured is just a fabrication. That's not what happened.
Those
Yeah,
But it
those are
clearly.
the
was
guys that
hilarious.
Sorry, I was gonna say those are the guys that during a moment of silence will yell "Go Habs Go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drunk guys.
Yeah. 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 See, but I do think on a different note, in when it comes to, jeering, I think it's hilarious that the Bell Center had started chanting Thompson's name even when they
Wild.
hadn't even scored a goal on him,
I
and it
was
was the
telling them to
Habs
stop.
that were down. It was hilarious, like, the audacity. That
Yeah.
building, it's like when they were saying "Olé" during a PK, like,
Yeah.
earlier in near the end of the season, like, what an insane building, and I mean that
Yeah,
complimentarily.
I feel like the Bell Center, like we always knew that it was going to get next level when they got to the playoffs with this team because they've suffered through it, right? Like all of us. And I think back to moments like when Josh Henderson scored to finally bust that big goalless drought, and he got that standing ovation when he was named first star, and like you could see the tears in his eyes, right? Like it meant
Yeah.
so much to him. And this crowd, I feel like the Bell Center has changed through COVID. I feel like it's gotten a little bit younger, and it is still very corporate because the prices are so ridiculously high. But I feel like because it's a younger crowd at the Bell Center, it's a bit of a different vibe. It's a little bit less caustic and a little bit more supportive. And they've formed a bond with these players that
Yeah.
I don't know if we could have predicted. Like, obviously, it's always been a great building, but it feels more positive energy now, more than nervous energy. And
The
man,
vibes are good.
yeah, they propelled them through this game, and the Canadians rewarded them for their faith in them. And yeah, Kate, they've been so cocky down the stretch. The fans at the Bell Center, so incredibly
Hilarious.
cocky, and I
It rules.
love
That's
it.
the X factor. That's the X factor about that building. It's not the structure. It's the dudes in it. It's the people that are there yelling and screaming and doing the wave in the third period. Like it's got to be a
No,
nightmare
it's
to
the
play in that
ghosts.
building.
I And it's partly the crowd and partly the ghosts. They
Yeah,
finally found their way home. They finally found their way home. When Duham got that puck off his, leg or whatever when he redirected, I was like, "Girl, the ghosts." When that guy, like, his stick shattered as they were about to make the way back towards Monty, I was like, "Girl, the ghosts." Like, we got him back.
Logan Thompson losing his stick for like 2 whole minutes. Girl, the ghosts.
The ghosts. No, it's not their fault the Habs didn't do anything about that. Like, they're
Yeah.
doing their best. They can only do so much.
yeah. Kristen, the lovely partner of our friend Ian here, mentions that they were chanting Thompson when the puck was in the Canadian zone, which is true. They were doing it like 7 or 8
Hilarious.
times tonight.
Yeah.
Chanted the goalie when the
Hilarious.
Capitals are on the attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's because they're used to it. They used to do it with Tim Thomas, right? Like Thompson is not that far off. So
Yeah, it was just muscle memory for them more than anything.
100%. And that was the thing. Like I remember that game, that first game. I can't remember if it was like 2008 or whatever it was. Like Thompson Thomas at the end said like they were chanting my name from the first second of the game and I could not hear my defenseman. Like he allowed a lot of goals. Like I can't remember what it was. It was an embarrassing result, and he was like, I could not hear my defenseman because they were chanting my name like as soon as the puck dropped. So Bell Center
amazing.
knows what it's doing.
100%. Natalie Petty asks one of the most devastating questions I think I've ever seen on this show. Says, do you think some of the Caps wish they were Habs?
Pierre Luc Dubois is a tap-in.
Oh, yes.
A
Lars
tap-in.
Oh,
Eller.
my God.
As much
I
as he
might say Lars Eller.
pretends,
He
like, I
was
think
pretty maligned in his time in Montreal. I think Eller wishes his Montreal time went better than it did.
Yeah.
I wonder if
I
he
mean, yeah.
wishes that he had this era of the Habs. I feel like,
It would fit in.
man, I really love that guy. I really love that guy. It's just second to say, I love that guy, and I'm bummed about how it went down. But hey, come back if you want.
Yeah.
I think that there's something about the being in that building. I don't see how you were on the opposing bench, and don't think even for a millisecond, man, what would it be like if this crowd was cheering for me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's possible. You cannot be in that building and not think, even for a tiny second, I wish that crowd was chanting my name and it wasn't cheering. So,
Yeah. Alex Ovechkin is on record saying he would have liked to have played in Montreal at some point in his career. Like, that would be really cool. That would be a guy who would thrive in that sort of environment in a different
he'd love the
universe, in
pressure.
a different timeline. Yeah.
You know what? I'm just saying, Sidney Crosby, you have time. You could still do it. The team's on the rise.
Actually,
The Penguins are in the shitter.
yeah.
Request a trade, my friend.
Do
Request a
it.
trade.
Pick up the
Laura
phone.
keeps
Call your
bringing it
agent.
up on our
Do
show,
it,
and I
do
just keep
it.
mentioning that in North America would run out of red fabric. Like, there wouldn't be.
Yeah.
They'd have to be rationing it, because I would own 4 of those things. I'd own 4 Crosby Canadiens jerseys. They'd probably make a new alternate just to continue to pump those things out. Like, just
A
keep
yellow and
throwing 'em
black
out there.
one, just to, like, give the Pittsburgh
Yeah, exactly.
memories.
Yeah, screw it. We'll bring the blue one back. Whatever. Just you'll buy it. Shut up.
And
Slap,
people will
slap
buy it,
Crosby
like the
on there.
powder blue ones. The powder blue ones, people will buy it. They think it's
Yeah,
cursed, but they
100%.
still buy it.
Bring back all the Centennial jerseys. Slap Sid 87 on those. They'll sell too. Like, any jersey that they have left that they haven't sold, slap Sidney Crosby on there. It'll sell. It'll be. Could you imagine? Like, we've talked about how Hughes and Gorton have kind of like found ways to support the team throughout this rebuild and like make moves that make sense. Whether it's trusting the guys after Nick Suzuki came with them and extending Jake Evans instead of trading. Finding like Kirby Doc. Obviously, it hasn't worked out fully, but that was a good move for the state that they were in. If they were able to be like, oh, you need us to get a center to support Ivan Demidov next year, and they bring in Sidney friggin' Crosby.
Start building
Can
the
you
statues.
imagine?
Yeah.
We're just doing
Speaking
Habs
of the
fanfic
jerseys,
now.
we were talking jerseys, and just really quickly, I do want to. Everybody on Twitter follows the wives and girlfriends of Eggs always make their playoff jackets, and everybody's always like very excitedly posting about them because some of them are downright ugly and some of them are like really cool. And just for an update for those who aren't as obsessed with it as I am, the Habs have some really good stuff. Red leather or synthetic leather. I don't know what it is. And they have a hat they made that's the original one, which is love that. And they got the patch on the jersey. I forget what it's called. The jersey that Ian's wearing, or the shirt, the logo. They have that on one of the shoulders, and they have some really cool stuff. So if you want to see the actual pictures, they're really cool. And I am going to, if anybody says they're ugly, I will fight them. They're really
No, they
cool.
kick so much ass. They're so good.
Yeah, I don't think they're ugly, but the one thing that bothers me about them is the original one. Has anybody here watched Invincible?
No.
No, am I the only one? It's a great series. Anyway, there's like a character in it that's like these two twins, and they clone each other. And like whenever one of them dies, they clone the other one, and they're constantly arguing about who is the original because they're exact clones and they don't actually know who's the original. So the original just always reminds me of them bickering about who is the real one and who's the clone. So it just,
I just think you're
distracts me from hockey.
Andrew, I just think you're a nerd. I hate to say
I am.
I just think that's why. Ian, I almost
Oh, K froze.
That's what you get for calling him a nerd. The boss said, "Get out of here."
It
He went
didn't
out.
actually freeze like Andrew just ejected her.
Yeah.
He
Called me a
yeeted her
nerd, so I kicked her out.
She's back.
I'm back.
She's
You
back.
guys
She's
can't get
back.
rid of me.
Yeah, Kristen also agrees the WAG jackets are so good this year. Natalie as well. King of the North had a comment here that I wanted to go back to. Missed. Oh yeah, he said Bell Center's calling Crosby like it's the Green Goblin mask.
That's just
Today.
I
Laura
love it.
whispering it. They could just hear Laura doing it.
The Penguins are weak.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't want to end the show because I'm having so much fun, but we really should. LA
Okay.
just took the lead on Edmonton, so we'll end it there. The Edmonton Oilers are cooked. You know what? Good for the LA Kings, because does any team have a hate on for another team as much as the Oilers, or sorry, as the Kings must have for the Oilers?
For sure.
4 straight years.
Got bad news, guys. Just tied.
Ah!
All right. Oh well, you know what? They'll find a way to beat the Oilers, and then Dano can bring out the pizza.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks to Ian and Laura from Locked On Canadiens and Kate for joining me here. This has been Game Over Montreal. Thanks to everyone in the chat who joined us. Denny, Curtis, Natalie, King in the North, Kristen, the mums, Secret Agent Man, Trinka. There's so many of you. Keck Shows, Jean-Francois Perret. Jean-Francois, you did say the Bell Center was the second loudest sports building you've ever been to. I'd love to hear which one was the first. The only one I could think of is maybe Winnipeg, because it's like smaller and more tense. But yeah,
It said
let us
sport,
know.
so it could be like a U.S. European soccer game.
Oh yeah, that
Those are
makes
loud,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are really loud. I wish we could bring more of that chanting culture to the Bell Center, because we're almost there, but we've
Yeah.
just got the ole ole and a couple other things. I feel like we can do more.
We need it to take off elsewhere in the league too. I think that's it.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Well, and I feel like the Canadians are the ones who are the leaders, right? Because like
Yes.
Montreal has that more European feel. Bring back La Canadienne sont là. Like let's bring back thinking about the cup.
Yes.
We're getting there. All right.
The usual route, guys. The usual route for
The usual route.
for that thing that I'm not
Although
gonna
it's going to
say.
be under construction most likely. Might not be able to be the usual route.
The parade will follow around the usual route, follow the
Yeah.
detour signs.
You
Have,
be
like, the
just
Stanley Cup-
high-fiving the orange cones as he walks by.
Maybe that'll finally fix the construction issue. Like they will have to fix it because the parade's gonna happen, guys.
It'll
We
get
have
done
to
in
fix
2
it.
days.
Get
Pick it
everything
up.
done, guys. Never seen people work harder than this. Thanks so much for joining us here on Game Over Montreal. We can't wait for Game 4. Kay is hosting that one. I don't know if I'll be able to jump on, but I'll try. We'll see. Busy weekend. We'll see you next time.